And as kind of just a brief introduction to today's call, I see some familiar names on the call. For those that have not interacted with me or met me, my name's Eric Blackwell. I'm one of our senior account executives here at Outfield. So I handle really all new business on our side and onboarding initially, and work closely with everyone else. And I also have Sam here from Outfield on our team, and he's going to be just kind of laying out in the background. He will be able to answer if you have any questions throughout this. We have opened up the Q&A section down below. Feel free to ping with questions. Sam might get to them. If I see a question pop up that I think is a good time to pause and just talk more about, I'm happy to answer a little bit more directly. And we can also have a little bit of discussion towards the end as well. But for today's purposes, today's kind of demonstration webinar is going to be very, very specific to a couple of kind of specific features in Outfield. Those things are add-on components that we can supplement Outfield with. And so for some of you, I would imagine maybe your team is actively using them already. Some of you have maybe seen this stuff but want to learn more. So this is really an opportunity to learn and get a high level understanding of how some of these components function. Specifically what we're going to be diving into today is some of the elements of housing your products, housing your inventory, being able to potentially place orders in Outfield, basically bringing that to life in your system. And, a lot of the reason that a client of ours would want to do that, we see, this specific product piece fitting very well into the broader kind of CPG space, someone that sells a good into a store, a retailer, et cetera. And what this enables is, if you have an ERP, an OMS system where you are placing orders, there's also opportunity to integrate those systems down into Outfield. You could also use Outfield, and some of these components we'll see today kind of standalone. And so there's just so as we kind of dive into all the functionality, everything we're looking at, please don't refrain post this call. If you're an active user, please reach out to your account manager or reach out directly to our support team. We're more than happy to dive more specifically into maybe your specific company, your specific use case, how this can be tailored to you, because there's a lot of layers to it that we'll be diving into today. And, with that in mind, the way I'm going to kind of walk us through and introduce us to some of these elements in Outfield is we're going to spend kind of the bulk of our time kind of navigating through the web component and the back end and looking at where our product catalog lives, how we can see, inventory, how we can place and manage orders, et cetera, construct our pipeline. And we'll wrap up with a very brief kind of, demonstration on some of the mobile aspects as well, kind of helping you understand like, hey, if I'm out on the go and want to place an order into Outfield, how that kind of functionality works. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen and we'll officially get things kicked off. All right, so we should all be seeing this products page that I'm on, and it's just nested under this products and inventory tab. Again, this is an add-on product in Outfield, and so if you do not have this, you will not see this tab. But if you do, there's always opportunity to tap into it and take a look. And this is something we can also talk with your account manager team, talk with our success team about, maybe spinning up a trial period if you're a current user, or again, if you're not using Outfield today, I'm more than happy to, maybe you'll connect with me, maybe you'll connect with someone else on my team after this call. But starting here, this is going to be a good foundation. This opens up specifically your product catalog, right? And so this is our opportunity to essentially plug in your list of products, label them accordingly, house, inventory levels, all those kinds of things. And this is really the starting point and where we have to start to make everything else flow, right? You can't place orders without products. You can't manage inventory without products, right? And so this is where we start. And so, something to keep in mind for everyone on the call, I mentioned at the top, right? You may, as a part of your tech stack, you may have an ERP system, you may have an order management system, right? Things of that nature. And for those cases where we are integrating with those systems, basically what we're doing here, and I'm going to dive into the detail of kind of how this is all set up and works, but basically what we're doing here in the catalog specifically, where we house the products and inventory levels and things of that nature, is really just reading that down from that system, right? Because, if you have an ERP, if you have an order management system, that is likely the source of truth for those things that we would then just read down and make available to then maybe place an order or read orders down from that system. And so that's another component of play. If you do have an ERP order management system, hey, I want to know if this is possible to integrate with Outfield. Bring that to us, right? We are open to, we have a lot of kind of pre-built things. We have, connections via Zapier, and we can always look at building something new if we don't have that. So starting here, as I scroll down, and just to kind of give a preview, this is a demo team of mine. Maybe some of you have seen this team before in some of the demos I maybe did with you early on. This is our friends team. We see Rachel Green, Ross Geller, Monica, Phoebe, etc., kind of navigating their way through the platform. They work for a virtual reality equipment brand and manufacturer company. And so they sell virtual reality equipment, headsets in particular, right? And so as I go down this product catalog, we can see our different headsets. My product catalog only has 4 SKUs. We're keeping it very simple and very easy today. I mean, you can have hundreds and that's totally fine, but the elements at play here, when we come into this, we can see the name of the product. We can see the category that it is nested inside of. And so you can create categories of different products and associate those accordingly. And then we see some descriptions, some photos, all of those things. Now, when it comes to creating a product, you can do this in one of 2 ways, right? We can sync it down. We can also just bulk import and then turn things to sync to that other system if we are integrating. But if you're just wanting to build directly into Outfield, maybe we're not touching any other system, we could also just come in and add one off. And this will be just kind of a good learning experience here in terms of what we can add into our products. And so when I'm looking at the top is really the overarching product. And then we might see and be able to create basically variations underneath that, right? So if we sold this specific energy drink and it has 3 flavors, right? Those 3 flavors are going to be that variation of that energy drink, right? And so you come in here, we can begin to place the name. We can select a category, which we would pre-build elsewhere. We can look at that here in a little bit. We can describe the product and provide a description there. And, all of this will be available to the end users that might be placing orders or, looking at your product catalog that want to understand and maybe give a better description to a buyer they're talking to, things of that nature. As you come below, this is where you can begin to add in your variations, right? And so we can begin to specifically label those variations, Red Bull red, Red Bull green, whatever it might be, right? That's just an example, but you come in, you can add those photos, you can add descriptions particular to the actual variation or SKU. Obviously SKU number, that's going to be important, especially if we're integrating with some other kind of system. You have these 4 options here: internal cost, price, quantity on hand, and quantity available, right? Internal cost is really opportunity. There are some industries we work with that care for their reps to be able to, put an invoice together and actually understand the potential margin on it. Not everyone does it. It's totally up to you, but it does make that visible as you're putting an order together. We're able to calculate the actual internal cost versus the actual retail price or the selling price, wholesale price, whatever it might be for you guys. And so you're able to adjust these accordingly. Quantity on hand versus quantity available. For those that aren't familiar, maybe don't work on maybe the supply chain of things, quantity on hand is alluding to any piece of product that is still in your warehouse, right? Quantity available is everything that is in your warehouse minus the things that have already been allocated at some point down that line. So maybe it's actively being fulfilled, it's being shipped, etc. It just calculates that and disperses that information. And so again, you can always keep this updated. There are things we'll look at a little bit later in terms of how we actually set up our order pipeline that will actively feed this information, but you're able to set those up from the get-go. We're also going to have case sizes. And so you have the ability to set, the size of your case. If you sell products in cases, maybe it's a case of wine, whatever it might be, you can set that case size accordingly, have it there, and it does that calculation as well so that you can sell in cases versus eaches. If you're selling in an each, you're just going to set the case size to 1. And outside of that, you've got that there. So some other things just to, kind of do some housekeeping here. We do have low stock alerts. And so this is just your opportunity. If you found it helpful, hey, if this specific product gets down to 250, right? I can select users on my team, and I can add multiple of these. I can select users on my team to receive an alert when that stock crosses that threshold, right? And I might want to do that because I might want to get alerted that, hey, we're running low, right? And a few other things here, we can also add in extra tags associated with those products. And so, just like you can across your accounts in Outfield and different places like that, you have the ability to add in custom fields, right? And so if I want to, name and provide a value of some tag across my product, I can absolutely add in any additional information. You can add in multiple, but across all this information, I mean, the nice part when you're putting together an order on the mobile component, which we'll kind of get to, it all makes it kind of dynamic. And when you're searching for products, you can search off the label, you can search off the SKU, even potentially like custom fields. All of those things will just allow them to kind of sift and sort through their products as they are kind of on the go, right? And so, that's kind of creating a product. Now to back out of that and kind of come back to where we were, a few things that I want us to kind of cover and go through. Now I'm going to tap on this tab here, this drop down. We're specifically looking at products. Where you go to preemptively create your categories, if you want to, is just tapping into categories. And I've got one that's pre-built because we just sell one category of product, which is VR headsets. That's my only category. But if I was to want to create a category, it's just coming in here. And it's ultimately kind of just building that static tag that then I can place right on those products. And so I can just come in here and I can name the category. I can put a description on the category as well, save that in there. And again, that's just our ability to then, when you're creating those products, we can tag them according to that category. Now, a few other things to take a peek at. We do have the opportunity, and actually, I'll go here first. We'll actually just take a look at this inventory tab. What this is going to enable you to do is just kind of get a quick glimpse into your inventory and the levels of your inventory, and kind of a table view. And so you have a search bar up here. You have filters that you can always run to look at active, deactivated products, maybe things that are low, out of stock, in stock, etc. And so you can always kind of enable those filters to look at specific items. But here, just out of the box, we showcase the name, we showcase the label, the SKU, the quantity available, the retail price. And you can always customize these columns. So if you prefer, when you're coming in and looking at your inventory levels, all those kinds of things, if that's relevant to you, you can always enable the ability, hey, maybe you want to see quantity on hand alongside available, maybe quantity that's also reserved, case sizes, price, etc. I mean, you can enable all of these. You can enable up to 8 to be able to visualize here and pick and choose from those things. Now, outside of that, a few things for those, and these are going to be more specific to someone that is, maybe placing an order in Outfield. And again, you can use this stuff and you can have this as kind of your source of truth for placing orders. You could also have it as really just an order taking tool that feeds into your order management system or your ERP. But the point I'm getting at here is these next 3 items we're going to take a look at are going to be a little bit more geared towards someone that is actually placing an order with Outfield, right? Because we do have a lot of clients that, they're not necessarily placing orders in Outfield, but we configure all these items so that we can appropriately read down invoices, revenue data, all that history into Outfield to effectively supply our team with the data they want to see directly in one system, right? And I can go and, instead of just being able to look back at notes and some of that history, hey, I can also refer back to, hey, this was our, latest order or our past invoice or whatever it might have been. And that, kind of further equips your team. And so we'll tap into kits first. The idea of a kit, for those that aren't familiar with it, this is your opportunity to kind of group products together. And kit them to some degree. In some spaces and some verticals, we see some companies leveraging almost like a welcome kit, like, hey, when I'm approaching X retailer, X buyer, hey, we kind of have this welcome kit of, these, our 3 best selling SKUs, and it's a really nice opportunity to maybe get a more discounted rate and actually kind of test out our product on the shelves potentially. This is where you can configure things of that nature if you need to. And so when I come in here to add a product kit, and apologies, it's loading a little bit slow. I am able to come in here and label that kit appropriately. I can put an immediate price tag on it. I can describe the kit. And then really the key component is coming in here and choosing the products from your list, right, that are going to be associated with that kit. I can then save that product kit in there, and now it's going to be available as actually an item to sell potentially, right? Outside of that, coming back, we're going to tab into discounts, and then we'll wrap up with taxes. If we want to, we have the ability, and again, this is more so for someone that might be placing an order directly in Outfield. Again, in some cases, if you're placing the order in Outfield and it's funneling directly into an ERP system, a lot of those systems take care of discounts, and discounts are pre-associated with customers and things of that nature. But we do have the ability to create preemptively, kind of preloaded discounts for your team to have access to. And so I've got a 20% off discount. I've got a bulk 10% off discount, a sample discount for when we just, zero something out, or maybe you want it to be 99% because maybe in your market you drop a sample, but they have to pay for it and pay a cent or two, right? Coming in here, what this looks like, there's a lot of layers to the discounts we can create. And so effectively, you're just placing a label on the discount, giving it some kind of name. You're then selecting the type. Okay, and the types vary. We can do percentage discounts, which is just going to be a flat % off. We can do a fixed discount, which is going to be a fixed dollar off. We can also do BOGO percentage and BOGO fix. So buy one, get X% off, buy one, get X dollars off. You can do the same thing in relation to those kits that I was just referring to. And then finally, we can also do quantity, right? So, hey, if they order X amount, we're going to give them % off. If they order X amount, we're going to give them dollar off. And so there's all kinds of just, different discounts you can build in, again, kind of preload them for the team. And so you select the type, and then you're basically just coming down here and, hey, okay, my quantity, we'll just do quantity percentage as an example. Hey, if my quantity minimum is as soon as they order, more than 10 cases or whatever it might be, hey, we're going to give them 15% off, right? And so, come down here, we can describe the discount if we want to give more description to it. And the last thing at play when it comes to these discounts is you do actually have the ability to associate them, or really I should say restrict them to particular sets of products and particular sets of categories, right? So if I wanted to, I could apply this across my entire headset category, right? If I wanted to, I could just restrict it down to specific SKUs, right? And so I have the opportunity to really just restrict it so that only those products can have that discount associated with it. And something we'll see a little bit later is these discounts, they can be line item level, but they can also be full order level, right? And we'll kind of cover what that looks like here in a little bit. The next thing we'll take a look at, now that we've kind of covered just kind of the general bones of what lives in kind of your product catalog and exists back there, we're going to shift into Outfield's pipeline, right? And the pipeline in Outfield is really, truthfully, for someone that's going to want to leverage this tech, we're going to want to craft the pipeline in a manner that we can feed orders into it and kind of funnel through that process. And so, again, kind of what we're going to look at here is going to be a little bit more tailored and specific to kind of the consumer goods, consumer packaged goods adjacent spaces. But, be creative, be thoughtful of kind of what we're going through. And, again, talk to your account manager if you think there's something else or some other kind of workflow you could leverage. But as I come down into this pipeline, we're going to notice our stages. And some of you are probably familiar with your pipeline, but if you look at my different stages, it starts at draft, we then submit it, it's been accepted, now it's been fulfilled, then it's been shipped, and then finally it's complete. And a few things I want to point out here. As we kind of go through these stages, we can see the number of orders inside of them. We can see the total dollar amounts. We can see the average order size, how long those orders have been staying in that stage. You can always change the time range you're looking at. It's always going to default to just the past year of data. But hey, if I want to come in and look at the past month, I've got filters up here that I can leverage to change that date range we're seeing at the top. And we'll actually get into some of that stuff because there's some pretty interesting things you can do. As we're going through this, you notice maybe at the top right of some of these stages, we have these tags. What this tag is on the submitted stage is a reserve tag. So as soon as that order is submitted, it's going to reserve it for that company, for that rep, so that, it's not then, dismissed out elsewhere, right? It holds it for that person, for that company that might be ordering from you. And you can place these tags on whatever stages make sense. You don't have to use them either, but they're there if you do want to just, make the available inventory more truthful in Outfield, right? If we come down here, we have a fulfilled tag on the fulfilled stage. What that does is it's going to, basically remove that inventory. And then finally, on the complete stage, we have it marked as revenue. And what that does is it flags it as, hey, we completed this sale. We are recognizing this revenue. And that can actually disperse data and analysis out to the specific reps on your team, out to the specific accounts on your in your team or in your enterprise, and allow you to kind of analyze some of those metrics. And we'll spend some time towards the end of our web session diving into some of the analysis that lives there. Now, where you go to begin to configure this, you can just go and edit your pipeline. And what you can do here is really just begin to title it. You can place a title on the pipeline. You can add a currency. You can customize these currencies. I mean, we have currencies across the country, or across really the globe, but you can also create custom ones. We see that sometimes in like the healthcare vertical for healthcare marketing or sales teams that are more so referral driving rather than specifically tied to revenue. So there's opportunity to kind of customize this in some of those ways. But as we come down, we will see our deal stages. And so this is where you can remove things. You can add more stages, drag and drop them in whatever particular order makes sense. This is something you can go in and kind of configure at any moment and update and change. Down below is where you'll see where you can actually begin to mark those stages as a revenue recognition stage, which we have assigned to our complete stage, a reserve stage for our submitted, and a fulfilled stage for our fulfilled, right? And as it progresses through, the idea, right, is that it takes it away and reduces the availability or the on hand as it progresses through the pipeline according to what stages it's, kind of funneling through, right? And so besides that, coming back into the pipeline, just a few other things to kind of cover here. When you're looking at your pipeline, you can actually, from the web component, create orders. You can move them over just by dragging and dropping them to that next stage or status. Let's break down what it looks like to create an order, and we'll do this same workflow on the mobile side of things to wrap it up. But we're just going to tap into add deal, right? And if you have this add-on tech, you have the ability nested underneath the deal to add an order to it, right? And so basically you're going to come down here and you're going to begin to, basically create your order. Now, coming back up here, inside of the deal, you can associate it with a specific contact or location. And so, hey, if this is, an order for the American Cowboy Museum, as an example, I'm going to assign it to that account. If I'm just kind of, making a mock order that I want to leave in the draft stage, I can leave this as it is. Or if this is something I'm prepared to submit, I can, place it into the submitted stage. And once I save it, it's going to land exactly in there. You can associate a contact with it if you want. And then there's some advanced fields down below that you can add as well. But in terms of order creation, out of the box, you have the ability to, change up the order date, change up the due date if you want, choose payment terms if you would like, and you can add custom payment terms as well. You can add additional fields down here. So if you want to fill out the bill to, the memo, payment instructions, order notes, all those kinds of things, I can begin to do that. And so maybe I want to come in here and plug in American, Cowboy Museum, and their address is 1250 Wood Branch Park Drive, Houston, Texas, right? I'm filling out some just information. All of this is actually going to be reflected on the order that we can also turn into an invoice and actually send somewhere else if we ever needed to. And so I'm just going to begin filling out what I want to fill out. Again, you can fill out any of these extra fields if you would like. As you come to the bottom, this is where you begin to craft that order, right? And so as I tap this select products tab, it's just going to begin to showcase all my products. Again, you have a search bar here so you can search for particular things, hone down the list accordingly. But I can come in here and maybe I want to start adding in just a few of these headsets that I know they want to order. I can change my quantities real quick. Let's update those to 5 each. If I want to, I can come in here and I can add in my discount, right? I can come in here and, hey, maybe it's a blanket 20% off that we want to give. It just immediately calculated that, took that off. If I want to, I can also set an item level discount, or I can mark it as a sample if I want to. Setting the item line or the line item discount is the same process. You tap into that, what I just tapped into, set line item discount. It brings up that discount, and maybe I want to sample discount it and just, completely erase that cost. Maybe I want to put in my 20% on that specific line item. Whatever it looks like, you can do line item discounts and full order discounts even at the same time. Lastly, taxes. You can come in, you can set your taxes on the back end. I think I may have actually ignored that when we were walking through it, but it's basic. You just come in and create kind of your pre-built taxes. And, local here in Houston, Texas, we have an 8.25 sales tax. And so that's what we're going to mark it up to. And it would calculate accordingly. It actually looks like that one is not appropriate. There we go. The sales tax actually had the percentage, and so we can see it updated accordingly. And, at this point, hey, if we're ready to submit it, we can just tap save. It's going to bring us back into our pipeline, and we will be able to see that order then nested underneath that particular stage. Now, if we want to do something else, if we want to, we have the ability to actually tap into it and view it. And the reason you would do this is, you can always go and make edits to it if you need to, but the reason you would do this is because we do have the opportunity to actually create a PDF version of an invoice or a quote based on these things. And so maybe this is more at the draft stage that you're doing this, but hey, if I want to just put this together, send it to my buyer, or, maybe pass it along to my supervisor to kind of look over it before I submit it. Hey, I can just turn this into a quick PDF invoice. It generates it on the fly. You can do this on the mobile app as well. And then, I have opportunity to download this. I can text it out. I can email it, whatever. But it's going to create that with all that information that we plug in there. So we can see the bill to that I filled out, the order number, order date, etc., the products with the discounts associated, tax information. If I had payment instructions, all that stuff would be listed accordingly. But that's what it looks like to kind of create an order and kind of what that process is. Now, coming back to the pipeline, a few other things I want to chat through. Now, if we're beginning to leverage some of this text and begin to see orders, revenue data, inventory, all those kind of things funnel through our pipeline, you probably know at this point, we have a lot of maps in Outfield, and a lot more specifically on the web component. And that's very purposeful. We're very visual. We're very particular to, helping you guys begin to understand where our time is spent, maybe where products are being sold, in terms of what our, kind of territory might look like. And so you can do some of that stuff here. This is basically showing all the orders over the past year. You can layer heat on this map, turn my markers off, and kind of paint a picture of where we've actually sold product into. What is even more interesting is I can actually come in here and drop this down, and I can begin to restrict my search by, hey, if I just want to look at specific postal codes, account details, custom field values, I can do that stuff. But hey, if I also wanted to, I could pull in specific product SKUs and search those up to actually understand, hey, where is this SKU specifically selling? Are we selling it where we need to be selling it? Are we selling it in an area and to the clients we need to? It's opportunity to kind of just get that market insight, right? Even, giving your reps the ability to quickly understand that, hey, when I'm walking into X account, hey, these 4 retailers right around you are all carrying our product, and it is moving at a high velocity, right? That's a powerful piece of information to walk into a buyer meeting or just, whatever it might be, to pitch that product that they might want to have on their shelves because people want it, right? And so just different things, different filters you can look at. Again, you can restrict by the date range. You can restrict by the date, or based on the created date of the order, or you can restrict based on the actual close date of the order as well, and just set your from and to whatever dates might make sense. You can always filter this down. Hey, if I want to come in here and specifically look at specific team members, Joey Tribbiani, Phoebe Buffet, whoever it might be, I can do that. I can also colorize all my map pins by the deal statuses or the order statuses. And then I can also tab down here to look at deals with or without orders. I can restrict by amounts, and I can also enable myself. We're always going to showcase amounts after tax, but if you want to look at amounts before tax and just filter down to that, you can absolutely do that as well. Now, one of the last components we'll kind of dive into and take a look at today is going to be in some of the analytics in Outfield. And so this would be really, just internal reporting more so, hey, I want to get into Outfield and see some live numbers around revenue, orders, inventory, et cetera. Obviously, you can see some of those stats and, you have filters on the pipeline to see some of those components, but maybe you want to get a better visual. This is where those are going to begin to live in these 3 tabs. And so this revenue tab in particular, and just for everyone to know, all of these tabs, you may already know this, they also exist inside of each individual account you tap into. So, hey, if I just want to go and look at one particular, account of ours, understand, month over month revenue or whatever it might be, I can always go into the individual account and see these same stats across the board. What this is going to be displaying, I pre-filtered this for us today just to give us, some decent data to look at. And so we're basically just looking at the past 3 days, basically the beginning of this week. All the orders that have kind of run through, all revenue that's been captured. We're breaking it down by day, considering the time range we're looking at. You can always manipulate the time range. You can always manipulate the direction, or I should say the X direction. So if you want to break it down by week or month, and the reason you might do that is, hey, if you're looking at a year's worth of data, you're probably not going to break it down by day. You're probably going to break it down by month. Right. And same thing for a month, you probably break it down by week, maybe you break it down by day, but you have the options available. You can also sort specific to specific products. So if I wanted to hone in specifically on particular SKUs and understand revenue across my team, I can absolutely do those things. But coming down here, we'll just see a kind of a line graph, right? A helpful understanding that I can hover over and I can see day over day total revenue across my team, but individual breakdowns as well. So Phoebe sold about 47K worth of product on Monday. Coming over to Tuesday, it looks like Ross stepped up and actually sold a 50K order. Monica closed 5K. And then coming over here to today, Monica, Rachel, Joey, the rest of the team has kind of picked it up and got some orders through. And I can come down here and again, depending on the date ranges you're looking at, this will display differently. You'll see, kind of whatever you're filtered to, but we're able to see a day-by-day breakdown and a total across each team member. You do have the ability here to break this down by product variation. And what this is going to do is if, hey, I wanted to come in and just look at specific products and what revenue looks like across the board, this enables me to see that day-by-day breakdown, that week-by-week breakdown, month-by-month, whatever it might be. Again, filters are available to do what you want, but you're able to get that breakdown accordingly. You can also break this into a pie chart, a bar graph. And so you do have the opportunity to visualize all of this differently if you prefer from a visual perspective to see it that way. Now, moving into the inventory section, this is going to give some high-level understanding of inventory that is currently available. We can also tab into reserved. And so this isn't a great picture because it's not ebbing and flowing too much. But if we hovered over this, we actually will see a slight trend down in what's available, considering that we are moving product through. And you can actually see those numbers reflected here day over day. You can see the product kind of reducing over time, starting at 793 down to 789, from 846 to 833. And we can also see what's currently available across those products. Again, that's all being affected by whatever kind of measures we place in our order pipeline. We have this reserve tab, which just helps you understand what's being actively reserved in your pipeline, so that you can kind of understand what's actively, kind of ready to potentially be shipped out, all that kind of stuff. And then this orders tab, this is going to do a nice job of really helping you break down individual units, cases maybe in your case, right? To be able to understand the number, kind of funneling through your order pipeline. So basically across this week, we have, sold 130 total units, right? And if I wanted to break this down, again, we have filters and, all of these. You can come in and I can restrict it down to a specific product, all that kind of stuff. I can also, if I prefer, instead of units to look at total dollars, it's just another way to visualize all of it, right? I can come down and I can look at, total revenue across that time range, all of that kind of stuff through each particular pipeline status. And so that's really gonna, wrap up a lot of just kind of the general kind of high level basics around kind of, what's available with some of this, product inventory, order, add-on products. Again, please reach out to account manager, reach out to our success support team if you have any additional questions after this. Where I'm going to wrap us up is I'm actually going to open up our mobile component to kind of bring all of this home, right? And so I'm going to reshare my screen, and we should now be looking at a mobile app, my mobile app. We're looking at our places page right now. And I'd imagine most of you are familiar with our mobile interface. And really what I want to do here is just give you guys a picture, an understanding of kind of what it looks like to potentially place an order on this side of Outfield. And so I'm just going to scroll down and we'll just tap into this Ace Gaming account as an example. And just to kind of, almost put you guys in the mind of like, Phoebe or Rachel, right? Who might be out there actively selling, and kind of what this looks like for them, what all of this potentially brings to the table for your team if we're beginning to, kind of integrate this data. It's equipping them, again, as I kind of mentioned this earlier, but it's equipping them to do a little bit more prep before a call, right? Instead of just coming into Outfield, being able to review, past notes and history, which is, immensely valuable. Hey, maybe I can also understand order history, what SKUs are being sold in, what's not, right? Things of that nature. And really, I'm imagining a lot of you on this call, your reps, if you're not integrating this stuff into Outfield today, it lives somewhere else that they can maybe refer to, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe they don't have access or easy access into this. And so that's what this potentially grants. But hey, if I'm Phoebe or if I'm Rachel and I'm prepping for my call, I've reviewed some notes down here. I can see, orders funneling through the pipeline, and recognizing that in my timeline here as well. But I'm going to go into my deals at the bottom, right? And this opens up my pipeline. So I can see, do I have any outstanding drafts? How many orders are my submitted stage? How many are accepted, fulfilled? My pipeline's a little bit of a mess, so we can ignore just, kind of the mess and cluster throughout. But what I'm really going to refer to is kind of that final stage. Wherever we recognize that revenue, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to always, before I go back into that store or that account or whatever it might be, I'm going to want to understand the total amount of revenue sold, which we can see here. I'm going to get month-to-date stats as well. So already on the month, we have really grown this account in a very healthy manner, considering we, kind of grew this by maybe close to like 400 or 500%. Year-to-date stats, given we're in January, that makes sense. Average order size, this is going to break down how many orders took place and what the average size of them were. Average time and stage, we calculate that. And then this products tab is just a very simple view that if we tap into that, it's going to open up and help us understand what products, what SKUs have been sold into this account. So it enables a little bit of gap analysis, right? Prior to going back into the store, understanding maybe what's been sold, what's opportunity, things of that nature. And then also you can tab into the individual invoices. They're housed chronologically down here below. Hey, I can tab into this one that was actually closed today. I can scroll through and understand exactly what was a part of that invoice. It looks like it was really a full scope order in terms of our product catalog. And so, she was able to sell in all 10 or all 4 headsets, 10 each, and we can see what that looks like. And so my point here, it's actively giving them that visibility, actively prepping them with information to go into a call, to go and execute that next order, or to go and sell a new SKU, right? It's equipping them accordingly. Now, if I'm in a visit and I want to go ahead and kind of create an order on the fly, right? Or even post visit, really doesn't matter. And you can do this while you're checking into an account. There is a workflow to kind of house that. But if I'm just generally doing it, I'm coming into Outfield and want to place an order, I'm going to tap the plus sign when I'm in the pipeline inside of an account at the top right of the screen. This is going to open up my deal, right? Just like we saw on the web component, it's the same process. And then below, we're going to see the add order button. And so I'll tap into that. Again, it's going to display all that same information, not to be too redundant in what we're looking at. We saw the same stuff on the web, but you've got your order date, due date, term, additional fields that you might want to fill out if you want to. And then I can begin to add in my line items. And you do have categories and products that you can tab through, kits even at the top of this screen. Again, you can search, right? If you have a larger catalog, it's totally fine. Use the keywords to search and restrict things accordingly. And then I'm just tabbing in here and I can begin to add in my SKUs, right? So maybe it's just these 2 products that I want to add in, 5 each, and I've added those in there. Again, I can add the line item discounts according to each product. I can add discounts down below at the full order level. I can add taxes in if I need to. But ultimately, depending on what I'm doing with this order, hey, if this is just kind of an initial draft that I want to maybe save, download, shoot out to a buyer to kind of get confirmed before I actually submit it, okay, well then I'll just save it in the draft stage. And then once it's saved in there, we can come back to that stage and looks like it's syncing over. Maybe I saved it in the wrong stage. Anyways, we'll just take this one that we're looking at. Once it's saved in that stage, it falls into it. I can then come in here and just like I did on the web component, I can view it. That opens up the actual invoice, potentially quote, whatever you want to call it. And at the top right of the screen, there's three little white dots. If I tap into that, that allows me to create it into a PDF invoice, a PDF quote, just like we saw on the web component, where then I can shoot it out to someone, again, prior to maybe funneling it then finally into that next stage. And if I did have something in my draft stage and wanted to move it over, it's going to be as easy as you look at this order right here. Down below, we can see we do have the ability to just simply duplicate a deal. So if there's hey, they just simply want to reorder exactly what they did last time, that's always an easy opportunity to just replicate that and save it. But you can also just tap this change stage button. It brings up your statuses. Hey, I want to move it to accepted, and now it's been pushed over there. So that really wraps a lot of what I kind of wanted to cover today. For those on the call, for those that maybe join late, happy to take a peek at maybe some of the questions that have been asked. If there's really nothing, we can also just wrap up. And again, we will send over this recording. You'll have it available. It'll be posted on our YouTube channel as well. But also, again, just to mention, reach out to your account manager, reach out to our support team. If you are new to Outfield, again, you might be connected with me. And so I look forward to that opportunity as well. But Sam, I guess before we wrap, did we have any questions? Do we have any questions come through? Anything that hasn't already been answered?
All good on questions.
Okay. All righty. Well, for those that are on, still on, appreciate the time. It's been a pleasure. Again, my name's Eric Blackwell, a senior account executive here at Outfield. Hope we get maybe the opportunity to cross paths at some point if we haven't already. Really appreciate the time. Hope you learned something. And again, please reach out to your appropriate personnel here at Outfield. We're excited to hear from you. Thanks so much, everyone.